Namaskar to all. Happy National Education Day to all of you. I'm Honorable Principal Professor P.C. Agarwal, esteemed Dean of Instruction and Dean of Research Professor B.N. Ponda, respected Head of Department of Extension Education Professor M.K. Satpathy, respected Coordinator of Extension Lecture and Expression Series Professor S.K. Das, respected Student Council Advisor Professor Manasi Goswami, and respected Joint Advisor Students Council Dr. Kumar Parag, respected Head of Department of Education Professor I.P. Gorama, respected Head DSM Professor Animesh Mahapatra, respected Head DSSH Professor Ritanjali Das, my respected colleagues, and my dear lovable students. So we have congregated through this virtual mode to celebrate National Education Day. India celebrates National Education Day every year on 11th November to commemorate the birth anniversary of India's first education minister, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad's real name was Abul Kalam Ghulam Muhyiddin. So Maulana Azad was well versed in many languages such as Arabic, English, Urdu, Hindi, Persian, and Bengali. Maulana Azad was a brilliant debater, as indicated by his name Abul Kalam, which literally means Lord of Dialogue. His contribution to establishing the education foundation in India is recognized by celebrating his birth as National Education Day across India. For his invaluable contribution to the nation, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was posthumously awarded India's highest civilian honor, Bharat Ratna, in 1992. The Ministry of Human Resource Development announced on 11th September 2008 the ministry has decided to commemorate the birthday of this great son of India by recalling his contribution to the cause of education in India. So, as all of us know that education is very much important for each and everyone, and it gives us knowledge of the world, whatever is happening around us. So on the eve of this auspicious occasion, that is National Education Day, at the outset I would like to request to the Students Council Advisor Professor Manasi Goswami to give welcome address. Over to Manasi madam, please.
Thank you, Rasmin. Very good morning to one and all present here. Honorable Chief Guest of this celebration, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati, esteemed Principal of this institute, Professor Prakash Chandra Agrawal, Dean of Instruction of this institute, Professor B.N. Panda, Head DEE, Professor M.K. Satpathy, Head DE, Professor I.P. Gorama, Head DSM, Professor A.K. Mahapatra, Head DSS, Professor Ritanjali Das, dignified faculty members of this institute, and my dear students. It is a pleasure and privilege for me to welcome you all to this glorious gathering to celebrate National Education Day 2020. We all know that since 2008, every year in India, National Education Day is celebrated on November 11th to commemorate the birth anniversary of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, the first Minister of Education of independent India from 1947 to 1958. He is the first person who established the first national education system in independent India. His remarkable contribution to Indian education system includes: number one, building of the Indian Institute of Technologies, IITs, to promote science and technology education. Number two, Foundation of University Grant Commission, UGC, a regulatory body for promoting higher education. Number three, imparting information in modern science to prepare India for a scientific society. His primary focus was providing free and primary education. He firmly believed that primary education should be imparted and conveyed in mother tongue. If we analyze the present National Education Policy 2020, you can very well see most of his ideas still resonates in our National Education Policy 2020. In 1992, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was conferred with Bharat Ratna, nation's highest civilian honor, for his contribution as an educationist and freedom fighter. Today we are assembled here to pay our tribute and gratitude to this great scholar and freedom fighter of India on his 132nd birth anniversary. As we are going to celebrate 75th anniversary of Indian independence on the eve of National Science Day, yesterday we organized a debate competition on the topic Transformational Journey of Education in Independent India. Many students participated in the debate and all the students spoke so well on this topic. The names of the winner of this debate competition will be declared soon. On this significant occasion, we will also hear an expert lecture and talk by Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati, an eminent research scientist and educationist. I wish that on the backdrop of the National Education Policy 2020, the celebration of National Education Day 2020 will be highly motivating, inspiring, and exotic too. Once again, I extend my warm welcome to each one of you present and associated with us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to Rasmi.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot for enlightening us through your speech. And now I request to some of our students to deliver their speech on the occasion of National Education Day. So I call to the student Rusha Sur, BSc B.Ed, second year. So over to Rusha.
Thank you so much, ma'am. आजाद देश की आजादी कहानी, युद्ध लड़ा कौन किसने जानी, प्राणवीर थे हाथ सबल, तलवार ने भी कलम से हार है मानी, बंद कमरे में दी थी शिक्षा, किताबों ने वीर गाथाएं सुनाई, संग्राम ने विज्ञान जिताया, कलाकारों ने हमें अमन दिलाई. Heartiest good morning to everyone present here, Honorable Principal Sir, esteemed Chief Guest, respected teachers, and dear audience. I am Rusha Shul from BSc B.Ed second year, and on this momentous day of National Education Day 2020, I am here to present my views on the social platform. In 1888 AD, on November 11, Sayyid Ghulam Muhyiddin Ahmad bin Khuriddin al-Husseini was born in Mecca, who later rose to become the first India's education minister of independent India. Beginning from his childhood, born to two academician individuals, his childhood was spent in libraries and reading rooms. As we look upon India's 12th National Education Day, we must embark upon the marvelous milestones that have been achieved since independence. The Ministry of Human Resource Development, now renamed back to the Ministry of Education, is the nodal ministry of this sector. Indian governments post-independence have recognized the importance of education not only on the economic front, but also to transform India as a global superpower. Over the last 20 years, Indian educational reforms focused on defeating challenges to instill higher women students, improve low enrollment ratio in higher education, improve low quality teaching and learning, and improve uneven access to learning opportunities. The numerous 5-year plans and reforms by the Indian government assured to strengthen education institutions While the recent National Education Policy 2020 is promised to be applauded as the best reform to mimic and develop into the Western concept of education. Apart from the numerous accolades brought by NEP 2020 upon the departure of National Policy of Education 1968, the mandatory teaching of an Indian language will protect and promote our linguistic and cultural diversity. From Gender Inclusion Fund to changes like Parak is promised to redesign and standardize assessment in the education boards to globalize our country's students. Lastly, to end on a positive, not much wishful note, to quote Malala Yousafzai, the girl who was shot, one child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Rusha. So, thanks to you for your nice poem, and you have cited so many things also on the above this program. So, next is Nilanjana De. Over to Nilanjana.
Yes, ma'am. न चौरहार्यं न च राजहार्यं न भ्रातृभाज्यं न च भारकारि वैकृते वर्धतेव नित्यं विद्याधनं सर्वधनं प्रधानम्, which means it cannot be stolen by thieves, nor can it be taken away by the kings. It cannot be divided among brothers. It does not have a weight. If spent regularly, it always keeps growing. The wealth of knowledge is the most superior wealth of all. A very warm good morning to one and all present here. Today, I, Nilanjana De, on this auspicious occasion of National Education Day, will like to present my views on India's journey of education. The Indian education system has evolved to a great extent from the Vedic days to today's computer age and e-learning. However, there is one thing that remains common between the two scenarios, and that is the importance of education. I will like to give a brief overview of education in India has evolved over the decades. A major chunk of the knowledge that our generation is dealing with has been passed on to us from the Vedic times. Initially, a Gurukul system of imbibing knowledge was followed, where the students and teachers resided together. However, later with advancements, the texts were recorded on palm leaves with the use of sharp writing instruments. However, during the Vedic times, not everyone was as privileged to be a part of the Gurukul education system. It was only the higher caste, the Brahmins and royals who could avail this mainstay of education. After the British Raj and the colonial system came into picture, the use of English language expanded. English was now being used everywhere for learning and giving instruction. It would not be wrong to say that during this time the entire landscape of education system in India changed. The period formed the base of higher education during the 20th century. Now 15th August 1947, India gained independence from the British domination. This gave the people of the country the first fullest opportunity to mold their education policy according to the needs of the nation. The important challenges before the government were expansion of facilities for mass compulsory elementary education, reformation of secondary and university education system at various levels to encourage women's education and reorganize the structure of educational administration. After independence, a host of educational institutions were set up by the government to ensure the students do not have to go abroad to pursue higher quality education. From government schools to IITs and IIMs, many premier institutions were set up to ensure that students receive the proper education. Fast forward to 2020, the national education policy happens to be a major positive breakthrough of this otherwise dreadful start of the decade. Separation of subject stream is blurred, providing a flexible education pattern because in the 21st century, no subject will survive in isolation. It is very much integrated and hence no boundaries of stream should prevail. Hence, we have come a long way from education being inaccessible to a major part of the population and serving as slaves to the British dominators to now having set up extraordinary educational institutions that produce the nation's sharpest of minds who will bring the upliftment of the country as a whole. Thank you for your patient hearing. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Nilanjana. Thanks to Nilanjana once again for your nice poem, and also you have cited the importance of education starting from Gulukulu system. Next is Sudesna Panigrahi, BSc BEd second year. Over to Sudesna.
Thank you, ma'am. Be more dedicated to making solid achievements than in running after swift and synthetic happiness. A very good morning to one and all present over here, respected principals, sir, and respected professors. Today, as we all know, we have gathered over here to observe the National Education Day that is being observed every year since 2008, marking the birth anniversary of the first Education Minister of Independent India, Dr. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. On 11th of November, he was born. Independent India needed to build itself strong and needed development and education being one of the strongest tools for the development of nation, as it required more attention to pay. Dr. Azad served as the first Education Minister of Independent India and put forward many ways, and his commitment towards uplifting the overall education system in India is worth a tribute. This year, the theme happens to be Study in India, Stay in India, and Internationalization of Education. In India, we need to progress to meet the educational requirements, as stated by our Honorable Education Minister, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal. This day also holds emphasis of bringing out the topic of importance of improvement of the national education system in the country. Speaking at All India Education on January 16, 1948, Abul Kalam had said, "We must not for a moment forget it is a birthright of every individual to receive at least the basic education, without which he cannot fully discharge his duties as a citizen." He was equally active towards elementary education and diversification of secondary education. He also laid emphasis on vocational training and educating the girl children, as we all know that he is the brain behind the IITs in India, and he is also creditable for setting up the UGC in 1953. Education is that key which can open the lock to many issues hindering the growth of a nation. Educated people are the building blocks of a nation. An educated youth can identify, discover, and use resources to get the maximum output and productivity. Educating both the urban and rural youth masses will ensure a stronger and well-equipped working force, mentally, logically, as well as physically. And Azad Sahab was much active about it. Education develops human personality, thought, dealing with others, and prepares people for their life experiences. Hence, we tribute and pay a tribute to Maulana Abul Kalam Azad on this day. With this, thank you all for your patient listening.
Thank you, Sudesna. So you have shared on the auspicious day about how education acts as the best tool for the national development, including vocational education. So next is Kabir Srivastav, PSC BEd second year. Over to Kabir.
Yes, ma'am. माननीय अतिथिगण, आचार्य, शिक्षकगण तथा हमारे कॉलेज से जुड़े सभी वरिष्ठ एवं साथी, आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। लिखो पढ़ो आगे बढ़ो, तरक्की की सीढ़ियां चढ़ो, तालीम के हथियार से हर एक मुसीबत से लड़ो। यह पंक्तियां हमारे जीवन में शिक्षा के महत्व को बयां करती हैं। एक शिक्षित व्यक्ति समृद्ध, खुशहाल एवं विकसित समाज का निर्माण करता है। आज हम सब भारत के प्रथम शिक्षा मंत्री, भारत रत्न मौलाना अबुल कलाम आजाद की 133वीं जयंती को राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा दिवस के रूप में मना रहे हैं। मौलाना अबुल कलाम आजाद ने कहा था कि हमें एक पल के लिए भी यह नहीं भूलना चाहिए कि हर एक व्यक्ति का यह अधिकार है कि तो बुनियादी शिक्षा में बिना इसके यह पूर्ण रूप से एक नागरिक के अधिकार का निर्वहन नहीं कर सकते। उन्होंने स्कूल को एक प्रयोगशाला की तरह चित्रित किया, भावी नागरिकों का उत्पादन किया जाता है। उनके निर्देशन में सन 1951 में IIT खड़गपुर की स्थापना की गई। उन्होंने यूजीसी की स्थापना के साथ साथ संगीत नाटक अकादमी, ललित कला अकादमी, साहित्य अकादमी की भी स्थापना की। साथ ही स्कूल ऑफ प्लानिंग और वास्तुकला विद्यालय की भी स्थापना की। आज के दौर में जब हम शिक्षा की बात करते हैं तब एक आम नजरिया डिग्रियों पर आकर रुक जाता है। संसार में शिक्षा का जितना प्रसार पिछले 7-8 दशकों में हुआ है उतना पहले कभी नहीं हुआ। ये आश्चर्य की बात है कि शिक्षा के लिए इतने प्रयास किए जाने पर भी जिन्हें हम पढ़ा लिखा कहते हैं, जिन्हें शिक्षित और सुसंस्कृत कहा जाता है, उन्होंने संसार में जितनी अशांति, जितना तनाव, जितनी हिंसा को फैलाया है उतना अनपढ़ अशिक्षित लोगों ने नहीं फैलाया। शिक्षा की समस्याओं पर विचार करने से पूर्व यह पूछना जरूरी है कि भूल कहाँ हुई जा रही है। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में इतनी अराजकता क्यों फैली है? शिक्षित लोग इतने दुखी, इतने हताश और इतने तनाव से क्यों भरे हैं? दरअसल सारी शिक्षा का उद्देश्य मुख्य रूप से एक ही माना गया है कि बच्चों की चेतना को अतीत की ओर मोड़ दिया जाए। जो बीत गया है, जो हो चुका है, जो परंपरागत रूप में मिला है, उसे राष्ट्र, संस्कृति, शास्त्र, धर्म के नाम पर ज्यों का त्यों मस्तिष्क में ठूंस दिया जाए। विद्यार्थी बस रट्टूमल बन जाए, इससे समाज आश्वस्त रह सके कि मरते दम तक अपनी बेड़ियों को ही आभूषण समझता रहे। शिक्षा का आधार भी लोभ और भय रखा गया। पढ़ोगे, लिखोगे, बनोगे नवाब, इसका लोभ दिया गया, और खेलोगे, कूदोगे, बनोगे खराब, इसका भय दिखाया गया। शिक्षा की सारी प्रक्रिया में यह तो भुला ही दिया गया कि प्रत्येक विद्यार्थी अपने आप में एक विशिष्ट व्यक्ति है। उसे मात्र एक वस्तु की तरह, एक खाली बर्तन की तरह केवल जानकारी, सूचना भरने के योग ही समझा गया। बौद्धिकता और तर्क प्रधानता ने केवल शब्दों का जाल खड़ा किया और वस्तुगत जानकारी, इंफॉर्मेशन को ही ज्ञान का पर्याय बना दिया। बिना किसी समझ के थोपी गई परंपरागत मान्यताओं पर चलते रहने के चक्कर में मनुष्य मात्र दूसरे मनुष्य से ही अलग नहीं हुआ, बल्कि स्वयं अपने आप से भी उसका संबंध टूट गया। रटी रटाई बातों पर चलते रहने में उसे स्वयं अपना बोध पाने का अवसर ही नहीं मिला। विद्यार्थी ने और तो सब कुछ जान लिया, एक अपने बारे में ही वह कुछ नहीं जान पाया। उसे अपनी पहचान भी दूसरों के द्वारा ही सीखनी पड़ी। औरों के द्वारा दिए गए नाम, पद, प्रतिष्ठा, इन्हीं के दम पर वह अपने आप को पहचानता रहा है। हर आदमी और जैसा होना चाहता है। यह जोर दिया जाता है कि किसी ना किसी जैसा बनो, लेकिन अपने जैसा बनने की भूल ना करना। कभी सोचा है सारी दुनिया में गुलाब ही गुलाब हो जाएं और सारे पौधे गुलाब के फूल पैदा करने लगे तो क्या होगा? फूल देखने लायक भी नहीं रह जाएंगे। यह व्यर्थ नहीं है कि प्रत्येक व्यक्ति का अपना व्यक्तित्व होता है। यह गौरवशाली बात है कि आप किसी दूसरे जैसे नहीं हैं, और तुलना करना कि कोई ऊंचा है, कोई नीचा है, यह सब एक नासमझी है। कोई ऊंचा नीचा नहीं होता, प्रत्येक व्यक्ति अपनी जगह है। मौलाना आजाद ने कहा था कि राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा का कोई भी कार्यक्रम उपयुक्त नहीं हो सकता यदि वह समाज के आधे भाग से जुड़ी शिक्षा पर ध्यान नहीं देता हो। वह है महिलाओं की शिक्षा। इसी प्रकार जब भी हम शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में बदलाव की बात करते हैं तब हम अधिकतर प्रक्रियाओं को बदलने की बात करते हैं। इस दौरान हम पठन पाठन की सामग्रियों की तरफ नहीं देखते। समय अनुसार हमारे समाज में आसपास में बदलाव आते हैं। उसी संदर्भ में हमें पठन पाठन की सामग्रियों को भी बदलने की आवश्यकता है। दशकों पुरानी सामग्रियां आज अपनी प्रासंगिकता खोती जा रही हैं। विद्यार्थियों के बीच भी किताबों के प्रति रुझानों में कमी आई है, इसीलिए हमें इस पर ज्यादा ध्यान देने की आवश्यकता है। इसी संदर्भ में विख्यात रंगकर्मी सफदर हाशमी की एक कविता है, किताबें करती हैं बातें बीते जमाने की, दुनिया की, इंसानों की, आज कल की, एक एक पल की, खुशियों की, गमों की, फूलों की, बमों की, जीत की, हार की, प्यार की, मार की, क्या तुम नहीं सुनोगे इन किताबों की बातें? किताबें करती हैं बातें बीते जमाने की। इसी के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
सो धन्यवाद कबीर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको। आपने अच्छा पंक्तियाँ कहें एंड आपने बहुत अच्छा पंक्तियाँ के साथ कविता भी बोले एंड शिक्षा का गुरुत्वपूर्ण भूमिका हमारे जीवन में कैसा है उसको भी वर्णना किया। तो धन्यवाद कबीर आपको। बट समय के हमारा जो निर्धारित समय था 3 मिनट से ज़्यादा हो गया। ओके, सो नेक्स्ट अभी बुलाते हैं सुश्री स्नेहा सुधा। नेक्स्ट इज सुश्री स्नेहा सुधा, BA B.Ed 3rd year.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Many of you must have come across the famous saying, modern problems require modern solutions. This year of 2020 has been worst hit by an unprecedented pandemic. The education in the 21st century has seen the involvement of technology and networking to enhance the scale of teaching and learning. On this occasion of National Education Day, we all have gathered here in this virtual meet, not just to celebrate the importance of education in our lives, but also to take a look at the education scenario in the present day India. The ability of the fish is to swim across the water body. Never judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Similarly, education is necessary for the enlightenment of our generation. But in addition to this, education must aim at enhancing the skills, abilities, and capabilities of an individual. We just don't need a well educated mind, but the need of this hour is a well informed mind. It's high time to implement a stronger educational model which will vocational training and provide practical outlook to the lessons across formal institutions of education. We must educate the students to train them, to transform them, not just for our own economy and our society, but the world as global citizens. Expansion in educational institutions is a must. Education is not just a compulsion in life, but a basic necessity of life, just like food, water, and shelter. Let's aim at providing education to the remotest corner of India, because each and every child has the right to education. Next is equity. Irrespective of gender, caste, creed, religion, culture, and other ethnic diversities, education must be available to each and every demographic division in this country. When we talk about inclusive education, the LGBTQ community, the marginalized, the women, all must have access to free and compulsory education. Excellence is the next topic to work on in the field of Indian education system. Because no matter how many great educational systems we build up, if it doesn't have a quality, then that education simply goes down the hill. Practical and skill development must be prior to rote learning and theory building. Last but not the least, employability. The learning outcome of a degree course is to make a learner employed on the basis of his or her skills. And unemployment frustrated youth shall repent his life and also fall into the treacherous hands of evil people and even develop psychological depression. Our education must provide graduates which can be employed and continue the country's cycle of development. And an engineering degree holder can't even name the parts of a motorbike, whereas a garage shop employee can fix all the parts of the vehicle perfectly. The difference that lies here is one has an educational degree, whereas the other has skills. And what we need to work on is to merge both of this. Paying tribute to the great soul of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, I'm going to speak out one of his finest quotes. Educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial, and moral leadership among students and become their role model. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Thank you, Susri. Thanks a lot that you have explained how education is necessary in the present parlance, and also you have described with respect to political, social, economic aspect of the national development and different aspects of the teaching and learning process also. So thank you very much. Next is Manisha, BA B.Ed fourth year. Over to Manisha.
Thank you, ma'am. Respected principal, our chief guest, our teachers, and my dear friends, a very warm good morning to all of you. I am Manisha Kumari, a student of BA 4th year. First of all, want to wish all of you happy Education Day. As we know, this is a very important day for our country because on this day we celebrate the birth anniversary of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, the first educationist of independent India, who served from 15 August 1947 until 2nd February 1940. As Ministry of Human Resource Development that has renamed now, according to new NEP 2020 as a Ministry of Education, on 11 November 2008 announced that Ministry has decided to celebrate the birthday of this great son of India by recalling his contribution of India education in India. Remember 11 November every year 2008 onwards will be celebrated as National Education Day without declaring this day as a holiday. Not to declare a holiday is the great purpose which serve the interest of this great occasion. This day has been celebrated in school and colleges with a lot of enthusiasm. So as our colleges, our college had also conducted a debate program, and there was a good participation from students also. As our friends have already told me many things, but some points I want to add about the education. So if we talk about education, education is the only way we can bring India out of poverty, hunger, illiteracy, and many other social evils. Education is one such tool in the hand of people, especially who are already empowered to share his medium of communication, medium of empowerment with the people who are not well-to-do, not empowered. Now it is our responsibility to make sure that everyone in our country is educated. If not higher, but basic primary level education has to be a mandatory. Our objective of celebrating National Education Day to strengthen our education system and to raise the quality of education to greater heights. It should be an occasion to remember Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad's contribution in the foundation of education system in an independent India, as well as also to evaluate the current performance in this field. So on this day, all people who are involved in the field of education should come together to advance India's prestige in the world as a knowledgeable society, to focus how to educate our people. Education today is not of great standard, especially in India, because most of the people, even after getting good qualification, got degrees, are not able to get jobs because they are not skilled. So the quality of education in India has to be improved both at primary, secondary, and in higher level too. This should be primary focus of the education system. And our new NEP 2020 focus on these issues hope to achieve a good result. Thank you. Have a nice day, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much, Manisha. So correctly, you have pointed out on NEP, and you have described on the role and objective of education on this auspicious day to remember the contribution of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. So now I request to the coordinator, extension lecture and expression series, Professor S.K. Das, to say a few words on this auspicious occasion. Over to S.K. Das, sir. Sir, please. S.K. Das, sir, please.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, we are not getting your voice.
दास
Sir,
साहब किसी
please
सुबुनि आपको
unmute.
क्या कहउछन्ती
Sir, please unmute.
I think we lost him.
Sir, please speak. Sir, continue. Mute, audible. Uh, now, now we'll go to the next. So afterwards, now I request to head Department of Extension Education, Professor M.K. Satpathy sir, to speak on the extension activities and National Education Day. So, please sir, over to Satpathy sir.
Thank you, Dr. Asmi. Am I audible?
Yes sir.
Okay, thank you once again. So, good afternoon, everybody. Respected Principal, Professor Agrawalji, our today's guest, Professor Nagawati,
Sir.
Deans, heads of departments,
Next
coordinator of this experience series, Dr. Das, organizers, Madam Professor Manas Goswami, Dr. Asmi, administrative officer, and employees and their students. At the outset, I extend my warm greetings to each and everybody, faculty and students, on this great occasion of National Education Day. As you know, already many people have spoken that this day is celebrated to commemorate the birth anniversary of the former education minister, first education minister of this country, Maulana Azadji, Bharat Ratna. And you know, he was a great personality. He was three in one. He was a popular freedom fighter, he was a great social reformer, and was a strong nation builder. He has not only spread or made the basement foundation of the education system after independent India, after its independence, working for more than a decade as the education minister of this country. But this day is being celebrated. Why this day is being celebrated? This day is being celebrated to make aware of all students, all parents, all citizens of this country to realize the potentiality of education as an invisible force responsible to bring out visible changes in all dimensions of the society. So his message was that the teachers and educationists should work as a model before not only the students but the common people, so that there could be a big change in the society. So he called upon the students and children that you dream before you bring the dreams into reality. So I think many issues have been discussed, and we'll be expecting to learn many things from our principal as well as from our guest, Professor Nagawati, in the coming after a few minutes. So I want to add few lines about the Extension Education Department. You know, Extension Education Department came into existence in the year 94-95 when the field advisors offices in the states were closed with the policy decision of the government of India. So now the Department of Extension Education works as a link between the Regional Institute of Education and NCET in one hand and the states in the concerned region on the other hand. So the objective of this Extension Education Department, the role is to find out what the difficulties the states do face in the area of school education and give them need-based supports for further improvement. Besides giving support in terms of in-service teacher training, the department looks after the development of materials, both print and non-print, as well as short-term research projects to provide immediate solution to their problems. Besides this, the departments also looks after the organization of field outreach activities which are necessary or a part of the teacher training curriculum at the internship program, maybe the field, this multicultural placement, community work, and other small works in the institute. We also maintain a small database about the state potentiality in the school education sector so that we provide as and when the need comes. So the department also looks after the organization of management meetings, management committee meetings, and IAB meetings, which have started just a decade back, and provide all support so that our output from the classroom goes beyond the boundaries of the institution wall, and it is with the common school teachers, the education system of the states. So once again, I thank you all the organizers, coordinators who have spent a lot of time for organization of this program. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, everybody.
Sir, really, you have said correctly that Abul Kalam Azad was 3 in 1, and you have explained why do you celebrate National Education Day, and how Extension Department has started, and what are the works done by the Extension Department, and how database is going on in Extension Department, and all you have cited so on this auspicious occasion. So now I would like to request to the coordinator Extension Lecture and Expression Series, Professor S.K. Das, sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry for the namaskar to one and all attending the Extension Lecture and Expression Series. Esteemed chief guest of the day, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati, Principal Professor P.C. Agarwal, Dean of Instruction Professor B.N. Pandya, Head of the Department of Extension Education Professor M.K. Satpathy, Student Council Advisor Professor Bhubaneswar Goswami, and Joint Advisor Dr. Rasmarika Sethi, and my dear students. All of us know the importance of the day. So today is National Education Day, which is celebrated across the country every year to commemorate the birth anniversary of India's first education minister, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who served for the country from 1947 to 1958. He was born in November 11, 1888. He is the man behind the IITs and many key institutes of the country. It was under his leadership that first IIT of the country, that is IIT Kharagpur, came into existence in 1951. He was responsible for setting up of UGC, University Grant Commission, in 1953, and emphasized the setting up of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, which is the most premier institute in Asia. He founded the Sangeet Natak Academy in 1953, Sahitya Academy, and Lalit Kala Academy in 1954 to promote education and culture in the country. He became the leader of the Khilafat movement, during which he worked very closely with Mahatma Gandhi. Maulana Azad was instrumental in setting up of the Central Institute of Education, Delhi, which later became the Department of Education of the University of Delhi. As India's first Minister of Education, he insisted on the importance of education for the rural poor and girls in particular. As chairman of the Central Advisory Board of Education, he gave importance on adult literacy, universal primary education, free and compulsory education for all children up to age of 14. Now it is increased in new education policy 2020, and particularly the educating the girls. That is the most important feature of his decision. Therefore, on this day, various programs and campaigns are organized to spread awareness about education and make every person literate with celebration of National Education Day every year. So that is the importance of the day. Well, as a coordinator of PSC program entitled Organizing the Extension Lecture and Expression Series, I am privileged and humbled to speak few words on it. This year, till now, we have organized 4 extensive lectures in virtual mode due to pandemic situation. The first lecture was on teacher and teacher education, and speakers were Professor Banwari Lal Bhatia and Professor Kiti Bhushan Das, Chairman of NCT and NRC, on 18 September 2020. The second lecture was delivered on the implementation of new education policy 2020, school education in particular, by Professor Ramachandran, Senior Advisor, Advisory Unit of International Cooperation, NIPA, on 24 September 2020. The third lecture was on significance of Gandhian philosophy today's context by Professor Jain Das, Das Benu on Gandhi Jayanti. The fourth extensive lecture was delivered on the significance of National Unity Day and Vigilance Awareness by Professor Narottam Gram, Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, MP, on 3rd November 2020. Today we are organizing the fifth extensive lecture on National Education Day by the eminent educationist Professor Uttam Kumar Nagawati. So he will deliver the fifth extensive lecture. Here, I would like to mention that in all these extensive lectures, we have included our own students to express their independent views on the proposed themes through this, another PSA program that is called the Expression Series. And our students are actively participating in this Expression Series, and they are giving their opinion, they are giving their suggestions, they are giving their feedback on the respective things on this Expression Series along with the extensive lecture. Lastly, I would like to thank the Student Council Advisor and Joint Advisor for giving me the opportunity to share few words on this great occasion, National Education Day. Thank you so much.
So thanks a lot, sir. Actually, you have explained very nicely on the importance of National Education Day very comprehensively, and about the extension lecture and about the expression series you have cited. So thanks a lot, sir. Now I request to B.N. Panda, sir, to speak few words on the occasion of this.
Thank you very much, respected principal and respected chief guest, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati, all heads of the department and the advisor student council, coordinator of the program, all the other faculty members, headmaster and the faculty members, TMS, academic as well as non-academic staffs, and other friends, those who are attending this program. Let me also congratulate all of you. And this is a National Education Day. We are commemorating the birth anniversary of our first education minister, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. So I send my all greetings to everyone. Friends, if we have to say education is a weapon, that is the statement he has given when he talked to the ministry. It is a weapon, or it is just like a passport for progress, because education can change and bring all type of development in the society. That is why in the beginning that spread the awareness of education and aware the importance of education in the society was the first priority of our first education minister. Because you can dream before your dreams can come true. That was his statement. Education imparted by heart can bring revolutions in society. That is why every individual has a right to an education that will enable him or her to develop his or her faculty and live a full human potential. So the importance of education cannot be undermined, because every stage, every individual of our society, they must have to have the education. And that is the starting point after the independence. So that is why we are commemorating the birth anniversary of our first education minister birthday as the National Education Day every year on 11th November. That is that is celebrated. So friends, I want to communicate to our respected chief guest that RI, Regional Institute of Education, is a constituent unit of NCERT, and it is located in Bhubaneswar, looking after the eastern as well as northeastern parts of the country, except 2-year BEd, which is going on in the northeastern RI. In the present RI Bhubaneswar, we are having 4+1 laboratory department, Department of Education, Department of Extension Education, Department of Education in Science and Mathematics, Department of Education in Social Science and Humanities, and I can say that the DM school is one of the departments. So all are coordinated different type of activities in the institute. So we are having different type of courses, BA, BEd, integrated, PhD integrated, 2-year BEd course, ML course, MPhil course, PhD course, diploma in guidance and counseling course. Our curriculum is very, very dynamic and updated. It covers all the essential requirements to help the prospective teacher to become a good teachers in the future. That is why our curriculum is updated and cover wider spectrums of the ideas from the all parts of the world. And with the facilities, we are very, very good updated library, nearly 90,000 books, and 50 to 60 type of journal as well as magazines, and we can say that papers. We are having laboratory, we are having hostel, we are having guest house, we are having bank, we are having post office, we are having ICT studio, we are having computer lab, we are having that is physical wings, look after the welfare of the children and as well as the faculty, and we are also having auditorium. So we can say that almost all the facilities and students are from eastern part, that is Odisha, Bihar, Bengal and Jharkhand, and northeastern part, except 2-year BA, all the 7 states of northeastern and Andaman Nicobar, nearly 850 odd numbers are continuing in this particular institute as a pre-service that is students. We are also publishing journal of school and teacher education on behalf of the institute. So our regional institute really the great, and it provides a very, very dynamic opportunity to all the students who are getting admission to become a successful teacher as well as the human being in future. So greetings to everyone on the day of National Education Day, and I must be very much thankful to the coordinator, Madam Rasmi, and advisor, Madam Nanasi Madam, and all other friends. Thank you very much for giving this offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Panda sir. Thanks a lot with your lovely greetings. So actually, your congratulations and greetings reaching to all of us. Then absolutely correct that education can bring all types of changes in the society. So you have said about the institute also, and what are the programs conducted by the institute, and with this, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, sir. So now, my heartiest welcome to Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati. Sir, namaskar. So my heartiest welcome to once again. Now, I request to our principal, Regional Institute of Education, Professor P.C. Agarwal, to introduce our today's guest, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati sir. Over to Agarwal sir, please.
Namaskar, good afternoon. Esteemed chief guest, my beloved teacher and my mentor, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawati, Director, Rajasthan Skill University, Jaipur. Esteemed Dean of Instruction and Dean of Research, Professor B.N. Pandaji. Heads of the departments, Professor M.K. Satpathy ji, Professor A.K. Mahapatra ji, Professor Gitanjali Das madam, Professor A.P. Gaurama madam, Students Advisor, Professor Manasi Goswami, Joint Advisor, Anchor of this program, Dr. Rasmi Sethi, and all my learned colleagues. and dear students, we are celebrating the birth anniversary of our great first Union Education Minister, Maulana Abul Kalam, Bharat Ratna, and this becomes more relevant in context of NEP 2020. He had the ideas which are again taking place in this NEP, and he shaped our educational system of independent India. So we salute him. And since much has been spoken for him by the students, by the faculty, I will not take much time on it. We are already late by 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. So it is a great pleasure, great honor for me to introduce my revered teacher, Professor A.K. Nagawati, to this gathering. He did his graduation PG with very high good percentage and PhD from University of Rajasthan in theoretical particle physics. He has a long academic administrative experience. It will not be able to cover me everything, so I'll speak few of them. He has worked as coordinator, College Development Council, Nodal Officer, Rajasthan Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, Coordinator, University Potential for Excellence Program, Coordinator, Internal Quality Assurance Cell. He was first coordinator and director of Infonet Center, University of Rajasthan, Deputy Director, Center for Development of Physics Education, and a very innovative center, emerging technologies. He had a great contribution innovatively in bringing up or in taking up new initiatives in University of Rajasthan. Notably, one of them is presentation on converging technologies, which was not only appreciated well by the RPG Foundation, but eventually led to creation of the Center for Converging Technologies, with support under MP-LETS by late Sri R.P. Goenka. Other important centers like Infonet Center, University Innovation Cluster in Biotechnology and Design Innovation Center are examples of his sincere contributions. His outstanding track record in creation of these flagship centers has given a very high credit to the University of Rajasthan as well as the state. So he worked as Joint Director, Center for Converging Technology, and Member Secretary of Steering Committee. This center consists of courses on nanotechnology, biotechnology and bioinformatics, information and communication technology, cognitive and neuroscience, and he was Joint Director in 2000, from 2006 to 2009, then Director of the same center from 11 to 14. He has also worked as Director, University Service Instrumentation Center, Director for Center for Non-Conventional Energy Resources, Chief Coordinator of UIC, Head Department of Physics, Dean Faculty of Science, Dean Dean of Rajasthan Skill University. He has been Visitors Nominee to Executive Council of Central University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, Member Syndicate, Member Senate, and many more in various committees for last 15 to 20 years. He has actively contributed in innovative academic programs, formulation. That is again a long list. I'll just speak out few. Certificate course in innovation in material science for inclusive development. Certificate course in product design optimization for artificial limb via soft computing approach. Certificate course in product design employing different types of coatings at Design Innovative Center. Certificate course in computer assisted drug designing. Diploma course in innovation food designing. Certificate course in RF planar component test. Establishment of nanomaterial synthesis facility for water purification solutions. Industry oriented amalgamation of in silico domain with biological data at Innovation Center, microbial enzymes for plant secondary metabolite extraction and development of value-added food products, stem cells as cellular therapeutics at the center, development of commercially viable polytochemical 3-year and 2-year MTech program in 4 streams of converging technologies, MTech Computer Science and Engineering with specialization to Information Security at Central University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, Master of Science in Computer Science with specialization in Artificial Intelligence at Central University of Rajasthan in 2010, 3 years MSc Tech Mathematics equivalent to MSc Mathematics plus MSc Computer Science at Central University of Rajasthan, Master of Science in Information Technology in 2003, Bachelor of Computer Application in 2002, and this list is very exhaustive. It will not be possible to read out or to speak about him. I have worked with him. He is my mentor. I worked in 1988 in Science Education Center under his guidance, and he was my teacher in MSc in 1984. He used to teach us mathematical physics. I have worked with under his guidance in several capacities. He has a very versatile personality and very innovative in all aspects, especially whenever computational physics comes or internet connectivity is there. He is the pioneer of computerizing, digitizing the University of Rajasthan almost 20 years before. So he has done a lot of work. He has guided several PhD students, authored more than a dozen books, has very good publications in very reputed journals of physics. For example, Physical Review D, uh, Physical Review Letters, etc. His research interest is theoretical scientific physics, as well as computational science, as well as now converging technology, artificial intelligence, etc. I would like to here that he has been an active member of the working paper on new curricular areas in 21st century in school education, which was given to our institute. We have submitted that paper to NCERT. So his contribution is quite long to the area of education, and actually I am very happy. Though he is very busy, he was very busy. He told me that I'll be able just to spare 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and I requested him to join us around 11:50. He joined 11:50, sir. I am very grateful that you spared your time and you are with us, and you will enlighten us. And he'll be speaking today on higher education, a neural perspective. On one day, we will also listen him that how skill education or vocational education can be integrated in higher education, because that is the demand now. So I'll not take much time. I thank him profusely on my behalf, on behalf of the institute, on behalf of NCERT, on behalf of all the colleagues and students, that he accepted our invitation and he is with us. Sir, once again, I welcome you. I welcome you. I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So you have introduced our chief guest with bright dry light, reflecting upon his long academic contribution and administrative role, and also the innovative work. So really, he's a best on eminent educationist. So today we are going to take the advantage of his space or out of his space. And now I would like to request to our eminent educationist, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawat, to deliver his extension lecture on the eve of National Education Day. Over to Ashok Kumar, sir. Sir, please.
Namaskar to all. I will be making a presentation and using the slides, so I hope it works very well. Stop. So, Principal Dr. Prakash Agrawal, my former student, the deans, faculty members, head of the departments of Regional Institute of Education, the staff and faculty members, and the dear students. At the outset, I wish to thank the organizer for providing me this opportunity to share my views on higher education especially, and from a general to a rural perspective in specific. I hope my presentation is visible to you, and therefore I continue my presentation. Now, before making the presentation, as it is common nowadays for me, that this is a presentation based on research works of many experts from all over the world and many resources, even without giving the reference I have taken from those presenters. And I am not making any personal claim of originality about this presentation. This presentation also is based on my own learning and understanding of various disciplines, especially science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and other branches of the knowledge also. As you all are either expert in the field of education or student of education, and you know that education is not only to be information in the mind, but it is to ignite. And the great rationalist Baruch Spinoza has rightly said that the highest activity which a human being can enjoy also is learning or understanding. And because when you understand things, then that makes you free and lead to another kind of freedom. At the same time, at the beginning also I would to mention, I like to mention, and since you have been contributing in this discipline either as a teacher or some of the participants here are the students. The Professor Frank Pantries, an well-known cardiologist, has classified human beings or people in three categories, and we generally belong to one of the category. The category number one is those who make things happen. Category number two, those that watch things happen. And the category number three, those that all the time wonder what has happened. And it is a choice up to us as a teacher or as a student to be in any of the category which we want to be. And therefore choice is yours. And I hope that everyone present in this event will celebrate the National Education Day with a more commitment to be in the category number one. And I would like to mention that there are certain laws of nature which are very common in whatever discipline you teach, whatever subjects you deal with, and whatever you are learning or whatever you observe in the society. One is the change. Everything is changing since the Big Bang. The universe is changing, and we are also changing with the time. And every discipline of knowledge is also changing with the time. So if the change is the most common law of the nature, then the second law is also common, and that is the called law of inertia. So national education policy also aims to bring in a change in our society, in our education system, and to make us again a leader in education or to make India Vishwaguru again. But whenever you try to bring in a new change, then the second law of nature also manifests, and that tells you that law of inertia, which we commonly teach in the physics courses also, that if you want to change the state of the system, then system possesses a property which is called inertia and opposes the change. Opposition to the change is very common in all disciplines, in all parts of life, and that's natural also. So if we try to bring in as an educator or as a student who want to bring in a change in the society, remember that there will be an opposition by the players in the society of whatever idea, whatever innovation, whatever contribution you wish to make. Initially, it will be opposed. But the beauty of the nature is the third law, that ultimately the changes are accepted by the society and a new kind of equilibrium is established. A new world order is established. And that is what we have been noticing in the world since long. And maybe since even before our emergence of the biological species, this has been happening, that the new order comes in and take place, and that is the equilibrium. And in the equilibrium state, the changes which people have contributed becomes a part or integral part of the system. And equilibrium in general is characterized by one of the beauty of the nature, and that is called convergence. That all such changes leading to equilibrium ultimately reflects in some kind of convergence, some kind of disappearance of boundaries, some kind of disappearance of classifications which was earlier there, and that disappears and things converge into one, and that has been happening in all disciplines. But I assume in my presentation that all the laws of nature are prevailing in nature and therefore are prevailing in the field of education as well. And as we notice that education is the oldest profession also, and I have been I belong to a baby bloomer generation, and I have taught in my life generation X and generation Y. But now I think that we have to be ready for education programs which can suit generation Z and generation Alpha and coming generations also. And remember that that's very important thing, because the kind of techniques, the kind of methodology, kind of programs which we are having for my generations are not good and appropriate for the coming generations. And therefore, we have to keep on updating ourselves, keep on changing our strategies of delivering the education and training the people in doing or making contributions effectively to the human society. So higher education has a very clear-cut purpose that one needs to get specialized in the areas, not only one single area, but maybe in multiple disciplines of interest at a deeper level. But remember that why do we study? Maybe we may have different answers to this question, but in my opinion, and as Karl Popper has said, that we are not student of some subject matter, but we are student of problems. And since problems may cut across the borders of any subject matter or discipline, so one has to be very much interdisciplinary in modern way of time, because you can't solve a problem by using a knowledge of a one particular discipline only. So when I was a student, I was formally trained in physics as major subject and maybe some little bit of mathematics and chemistry. So that kind of multidisciplinary education, that the minors in mathematics and chemistry and major in physics I had. But over the period of time, I realized that the knowledge which we have in one discipline is not sufficient to understand or to address to the issues that society is facing or the problems the society is facing. And in the longer run, therefore, we have to adopt an immediate interdisciplinary approach in solving the problems. And that's what you may have observed, that all those innovations which have occurred, and as you will find, there's a major innovation maybe in the field of economy or biotechnology or bioinformatics have been contributed by the people who were initially trained in the multidisciplinary scenario with a major in maybe physics or some school of engineering, but then they could pursue an interdisciplinary approach. And that is why worldwide in the research, interdisciplinary approach is highlighted very much. And hopefully we will also be advocating it and adopting it more and more in our higher education program. At the same time, there are certain disciplines which are emerging, which have emerged in the last 4 or 5 decades only. And before 4 or 5 decades, in fact, the word artificial intelligence was coined in 1956, but it is the today's most common thing. Everybody knows about it, and its presence has been felt by everyone, and it will become more and more important in our day-to-day life, in our functioning, in our behavior, also in coming years of time, and which has resulted into what we call deep machine learning, and maybe then later on we can design and we can change the human beings also by using biosystem inspired engineering and new kind of computing and biological approaches. Actually, these are the emerging disciplines, and these emerging disciplines have contributed a lot in last 4 or 5 decades, and also have changed our vision towards the education, because these disciplines will be playing an important and crucial role in coming years of time. We shall not ignore these disciplines also. So when we talk about developing 21st century capabilities or competences for students or for any person who wishes to contribute in society, then he needs to acquire the contemporary world, the contemporary requirement of the skill sets. And if unless you should definitely have a professional mindset, but one will have to relearn and learn and relearn very often in coming years of time. In the old period of time, once you have learned something, you could live a life pursuing that, applying that knowledge and contributing to the society. But now it is not possible because of the accelerated change driven by these emerging technologies. They are changing the world so fast that the way you learn until you mature it in and apply it in solving every problem, then you find that the new approaches have come in and you have to relearn the previous approach and apply a new approach to solve the problem. So you have to keep on augmenting your learning. And so when I was student, I was very happy when in my school, primary school, I was told that you have to study for 25 years. But then we realized that the learning is for lifelong. We also have in university the programs which caters to the lifelong learning. And learning since then, since my childhood, has become more and more dynamic, more and more complex, and involving different aspects. So technology is changing the world with such a high rapid rate, and the development is taking place that we have to fine tune all our programs in such a way. At the same time, we know that certain skill sets are required for performing the new kind of the technological tools which we have and to manage them and to make contribution using them. At the same time, it is often never, it is never can be ignored, and that is what we call the liberal education. That the knowledge of the human culture, the personal and social responsibility, and all those aspects have been highlighted, therefore, in our national education policy, and narrow learning is not enough. But what I advocate is what is called flexibility. And flexibility allows us also an option to integrate very easily the skill educations and the modern skill educations with the conventional general education or discipline-centric education programs which we already have. I just wish to point out that the very first university which was created in the world and which is active today, so I'm not talking about Nalanda and Takshashila, but the University of Bologna is the oldest university which is functional today, and it was established with the slogan Alma Mater told them, which means nourishing mother of studies. And you will be surprised to know that this university was established not by faculty members, not by thinkers or planners, but by the students themselves. So the idea right from the beginning was that the education should be student-centric, should cater to what student wants to learn and what student wants to achieve, or what are his or her own dreams in for life. And so to being a purpose of life, education is also essential. And that purpose of life is visualized in terms of a dream, and to attain or to realize his or her own dreams, the only flexible education is suitable. So each individual has different, and each individual is unique. And now with the biometric and all those kinds of technologies which you have realized that the technology can identify individuals very easily because every human being is unique as far as biometric is concerned. But my suggestion is that every human being is unique in all other respects and also in the respect of education also. And therefore, the education should be delivered in such a flexible manner as I call the Mere Wala Blue campaign of Asian Paints. Similarly, you can call Mere Wala BSc, Mere Wala BA, Mere Wala BTech, or Mere Wala any other programs, so that any student in a cafeteria approach can select different courses, and these courses should be so selected by him so as to make him capable enough of realizing his or her own dream. So a curiosity and dream-driven purpose of education is what I highlight. And for that, definitely we need to have a lens, a foundation, a theoretical framework by which we can look at it. And you all are familiar with the taxonomy of educational objectives given long back, maybe in 1959 or so, 56, I don't exactly remember, by Bloom's, and which were later revised, Bloom's taxonomy of educational objective. And Bloom's taxonomy of educational uh, educational objectives is very, very important. And it's very, very important when we implement any policy like national education policy, because education is not about collecting information or acquiring knowledge. It's only the very first stage, the elementary stage. But unless you understand the information and you acquire the capability of applying it, and when you can deal with the different kinds of applications and different scenarios, and then analyze it and evaluate it and create it, the Bloom's taxonomy or the educational objective cannot be achieved in complete. So you all are familiar with it and you understand that the learning and what we mean by learning. So I will not elaborate upon it because you are already having a very good programs, good education on that. But what I wish to emphasize in my small talk is that overall where these things are happening, the cognitive domain, which has been pointed out by the Bloom, all the things which we have mentioned involving understanding, applying, and analyzing is happening inside the human mind. And human mind is very, very complex system. But fortunately, in the last 4 or 5 decades, our understanding of human brain has improved a lot. And now we understand it much better than a simple view that human brain or human mind receives information, stores the information, and retrieves this information. It also has the capacity to transform and transmit the information and process the information. This sounds very much similar to what we call a computing system, which can also do all these kinds of functions. And now since we have machine, so there are 2 kinds of intelligence available in modern time. One is called non-biological intelligence and the other is called biological intelligence of the human mind. So to understand, I am just proposing, I'm not proposing, already it has been proposed by the experts. I am just trying to emphasize and use this opportunity to communicate to you that our educational programs, the higher education approaches and the strategies should be centered to the human mind of brain. And because the brain is the main mechanism where the mechanism happens, it permits the learning and which also limits and constrains it, and how to expand. And maybe later on, I will add something more to it and how it can be augmented. Now, I will just mention here that with the advances in the technology, it has become very now possible to understand the human brain. Now, we have tools and techniques available. And you may have known of magnetic resonance imaging. Generally, it is used as a medical diagnostic tool and technique for identifying diseases and tumors and fractures and things like that. And you know that it has very, very high resolution. Now we have MRI setups which are having much better resolution than the previous MRI setups which were having, and which have made possible what we call functional magnetic resonance imaging. And as it uses a very high and strong magnetic fields and to create images of biological tissues. And with these images, one can identify that what kind of activity is happening inside when inside the brain, what the neural activity can be identified. Just to convince you that neural perspective is very important, I would point out that this particular approach, before that, is non-invasive. Invasive technique is required in this, and it provides a better temporal and spatial resolutions, and it is very common technique now in this 21st century for understanding the brain. And it has improved our understanding of the brain as well as our understanding of the algorithms on the basis of which the brain works. And at the same time, the functional MRI machine also helps us in understanding the various things and even sometimes to locate the certain symptoms prior to, for example, Alzheimer's disease. By fMRI analysis of the brain images, one can predict whether a person will have Alzheimer's disease few decades later or not. all these kinds of research is going on, and worldwide, the researchers, and especially researchers also from my previous Institute Center for Conversing Technologies, are contributing a lot in our understanding of the brain algorithms and so on in this manner. So I just give you two examples. One example was published in Psychological Sciences in 2005. It is about investment behavior and the negative side of emotions. So you know that everybody has certain emotions, and in brain we have certain regions or locations with which the emotions can be associated. And there are certain people who you feel that, or whom you notice that they are less emotional, and they are less emotional because that the particular part of the brain is the reasons, emotional reasons have been disabled or are right from the beginning, or maybe because of some disease or impairment of any kind. So there are people who have less emotional nature because the brain is so designed that they are less emotional, and now we can identify those particular areas which pertains to those regions of emotional and whether that particular area is active or not. What I mean to say is that if you permit me to do an functional MRI on your brain, then I can know much more about your brain, and I can make an understanding whether you are emotional or what level your emotional regions inside your brain are active or not. So in this study, the impact of the investment, and if the brain is so designed that it is less emotional, then what will be its effect? So Bayesian patients were examined, and it was found in this particular study, which was published in 2005, that Bayesian patients with emotional neural damage make more advantageous investment decisions than normal subjects. What does it mean? It simply means that a normal human being, in comparison to a normal human being, a person who is less emotional because of the defect, you can say, in the brain, will be more suitable for making decisions regarding the financial management. It's a very not this 2005 study, and some of the studies have been completed also after that. And right now, we have moved further in this direction. But what is more important, there is a lesson. And what is the lesson is that maybe in future, when you have to hire a financial manager, you will not hire a financial manager based on an academic program or things. So even if he is having a degree from Indian Institute of Management in the financial and investment sector, he has specialized in that particular area, and he has been evaluated by the teachers and given positive recommendations. But maybe in coming years of time, the company will ask that all those who have applied for the particular job of financial manager will have to undergo the functional MRI. And then the decisions will be taken on the basis of the functional MRI. And the functional MRI, if tells me that the fellow is having a degree from Indian Institute of Management, but is very, very emotional, and therefore I may conclude scientifically that he may not be suitable for the financial investment decisions. So the incoming years of time, only the paper qualifications and the capacities with which you can demonstrate, or the track record, or the project, or the experience will not be sufficient, because we would be examining the education also from this point of view. And right now we are in the beginning stage, maybe, but whether on any course or program or for any kind of activity or job, later on we will be able to find out that what reasons of the brain should be in what particular state so that the person becomes suitable. So that will be a more scientific approach. Even to become a good teacher, so a good education degree from an eminent institutes like yours will not be sufficient. You will have to examine that what areas of brain should be very, very active in that particular aspect so that the person would be able to be a good teacher in future. Right now that is not available. The information, the research is going on in all possible areas. As you know that once the research expands, it expands rapidly, and then exploration takes place, and it covers major domains which people can think of very easily. So another study also, that oxytocin, and as you know that oxytocin is sometimes in negative news because oxytocin is also used to increase the crop of the loki or any fruit or vegetable, or also for getting more milk from the animals like cow and so. But the oxytocin, another study, similar study, functional MRI-based study, resulted that oxytocin increases trust in human beings or make them rely more, trust others very easily if oxytocin doses are increased. So this new approach should be integrated in the understanding of the Benjamin Bloom that not only the three domains which he has specified, cognitive and psychomotor, are effective, and which all of you are not only arguing but are also using or making best of use of it. So the skill education, as the principal was saying, in case of the skill education, and since nowadays I work with the skill university, the training is mainly in the psychomotor division. Unless you get those skills that through the psychomotor division and become very effective, the skill education is not considered successful. The general education may limit itself to the cognitive. I am not saying that to acquire the skill sets which are with modern technologies like AI technologies required, you have to develop all the abilities through cognitive domain, but ultimately the psychomotor skill set, psychomotor effectiveness should be there, so that without knowing even you would be doing things correctly, applying all those knowledges which you have gathered or all the skills which you have mastered by repeated applications of the things and so on. And finally, no doubt, whatever you do, the effective domain can never be ignored, as Benjamin Bloom has also argued. So, when we teach cognitive domain, or when we teach, or when we educate, as you know, that language is required. And I now wish to point out that again, a neural perspective is required in understanding that any communication in classroom or everyday classroom is based on a language. And every language, whether it is a computer programming language, which we call formal programming languages, or which is a natural language like Hindi or English or any Korea or Tamil, all these languages have syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. I understand that you all understand about these things. So both formal and natural, or even the languages which are used just to describe the language matters. But over my experience as a teacher, I have realized that the major problem in teaching or making a student learn and understand things very well so that they can apply it correctly, this comes with the semantic problem. There are two major problems which I have noticed in my over 4-decade career of teaching. And one is the fear psychosis, that the student, even if he has not understood the concept, because of the fear psychosis, he doesn't ask any question. He just want to be a disciplined student in the class, listening to what is being taught, and maybe copying down or taking notes, but does not like to raise the questions. And so this peer psychosis results in lack of commitment in the students, and this lack of commitment later becomes a handicap, because since you have not worked when the initial stage of the learning, the things very much. So later on, when you have to apply the knowledge, you fail. And that's why I have been encouraging the student that unless you ask questions, unless you question each and everything which you learn, you can't move. And that's very, very essential in courses of science, and no doubt. And ultimately, the science, good science students pick up that way. But the second problem is the problem which is associated with the semantics. Because whatever I speak or the teacher speaks in the class, it has a particular semantics. And major problem I have noticed that there are many kinds of semantic values in communications, and which result in the failure of communication. And you may be communicating something, but the understanding which the student develops is totally out of context or totally wrong or baseless as far as that particular theoretical framework is concerned. I will give you just one example that why the semantics is very, very important, because in science we use same words sometimes in different theoretical frameworks. So in physics we use the same word in different theoretical frameworks. So maybe energy, for example. Energy is a word which we use in the Galilean frameworks like Newtonian mechanics, as well as the special theory of relativity, and as well as in general theory of relativity-based theoretical frameworks. So there are three different kinds of common theories of relativity which you may have heard of, those who have some knowledge of physics. One given by Galileo long back, and one which primarily ideas were given by Galileo, and the Newton developed a school of mechanics, and that is called Newtonian mechanics. So when you say Newtonian mechanics, the word energy appears, it has a different semantics. And for example, semantics there, because in physics courses, whenever you talk about energy is a physical quantity, and whenever you talk about energy as a physical quantity, it becomes important whether what kind of nature it is having, whether it is a scalar or whether it is a vector or whether it is a tensor of higher range. And these are the concepts in mathematical physics, definitely. And so in Galilean theory of relativity, the semantics associated with the energy as far as its nature, as the physical quantity is concerned, and we say that the energy is a scalar quantity, as we have been teaching in school curriculum of 11th and 12th, because primarily it is based on Newtonian mechanics, so we say energy is a scalar. But when you come to the knowledge of spatial theory of relativity, so when you talk in terms of spatial theory of relativity, you have to change the semantics. You have to relearn the meanings of the terms and notions which you have acquired in the Galilean theory of relativity, and relearn the same things again in the new meaning maybe, or the same meaning as the case may be in the spatial theory of relativity. In the spatial theory of relativity, energy becomes a component of a four vector. So we generally call energy momentum four vectors. So energy and momentum in one frame of reference can transform into another frame of reference in much different manner than what we talk about in Galilean theory of relativity. This is a technical subject specific issue, but since I am a teacher of physics only, I can give you that example from physics. That the meanings keep on changing as we move from one level of understanding to another level of understanding. And since the level of understanding has been changing in all the disciplines, as I have pointed out in the earlier, the semantics, even if the word is same, and so what we happen that sometimes we just understand only the denotative meaning of the word, and that gives maybe a different level of understanding, and which may not be the true meaning of the things. And there may be some connotative meaning also, the meaning which is suggested by the mind. So this is a very, very common problem. And therefore, in designing our higher education program, we have to look into these aspects, that the semantics is clearly communicated and it does not lead to our ambiguity. Now, the word, for example, just because I made my explanation of the semantics here, the example which I have chosen was from physics, this is common for all other disciplines of knowledge also, and even in understanding the literature also. So I often cite the example of the Bhubaneswar, where he said that "Pothi par par jag hua pandit dhyan apne, dhai aakhar prem ka pade so pandit hua." And the literary meaning which I translate it and communicate to my physics student is that by reading books nobody will become a scholar, and therefore one should throw away all the books. And those kinds of literary meaning can be drawn from certain sentences. But we all know that this is not the meaning. If you just translate it by using Google or any semantic, any language translator, then they will find that the semantic justification will not be there. That's the problem in artificial intelligence. And our knowledge and understanding of artificial intelligence is now helping us improving our approach towards the semantics, and that is what I am advocating here. But then, when you understand the things, then it becomes clear that what Kabir is saying, that even if you have read many books, the religious books, the books which makes people aware about the philosophies and purpose of life, even if you have read all those books, and if you still continue to use certain approaches which are not justifiable, then he says that means that the simplest lesson which one can grow from all the great books which teach us about philosophy and purpose of life and the religious aspect is that the humanity. High Arthur he refers to humanity, the basic principle of humanity. If you are doing something which violates the basic principle of humanism, then that is baseless, then that is meaningless, and it should not be. You should not be called a scholar just because you have gone through so many literature, so many books of written by great scholars, and you are making a claim based on your understanding of those books and those on those literature. So that is not. So semantics is very, very important. Understanding it in very, very proper. And this would become very, very important in coming year of time, more because of the fact that we are approaching towards a time where the biological and non-biological intelligence will also be interacting with each other. Maybe in future period of time, the human beings would also be interacting with the machines. And you right now know that the Sophia the robot can interact with you, can also deliver my kind of presentation here and in this event of the National Education Day. If you ask her, then she can also speak on all those issues on which I can speak. So Sophia is a humanoid, however, she is having less intelligence than the human being intelligence. But in coming years of time, we will be having machines which will be having much higher intelligence than the human being intelligence. But let us assume that in a period of time, we will not be eliminated, so there will be human beings interacting with these machines. And when you understand when you interact with the machine, the major problems of the semantics would again appear. And the semantics, because the machines are very well defined, because that's the advantage. And that is why I sometimes say that the computational physics and computational programming is much simpler than understanding anthropology. And the main reason is that that approach of the formal programming languages is has been developed in a very systematic and mathematical manner, in such a manner that the errors because of the semantics get minimized. However, what's zero can be minimized, and so all the time there is a emphasis in developing solutions and problems using AI approaches that the semantics should be properly justified, and it should not lead to complications. So there are different aspects in our memory also which relate to the semantic and episodic memory. And when you develop an educational program, you find that both the approaches should be, one has to make use of it. And unless we have a clear-cut understanding that certain aspects, certain knowledge, certain non-knowledge can be better acquired through the semantic memory, at the same time, certain things like in the liberal arts, maybe we definitely need episodic memory. The things, as you know, and as everybody agrees, that the life is the greatest teacher, or whatever happens to you, that teaches you much more than what you try to learn through the books and through the efforts and educational programs in the universities and colleges and on your own way of learning. And that's only because the experience which you get, the memory, memories, be whether declared the memories, semantic or episodic, are located inside the brain is involved for both, and when the brain does the processing, it does processing in such a manner. And now what we find that maybe we have a higher advantage right now as far as biological intelligence is concerned because of the episodic memory. That the kind of the episodic memory which we have, the kind of anticipation which we can have, or the so-called people say the sixth sense which we can have, and we can make certain decisions which are sometimes very good and very crucial decisions. Whereas the artificial intelligence machines, the episodic memory which they are developing, and definitely some in coming years of time they may outsmart us in episodic memory experiences also. But right now, the maximum emphasis has been on the semantic memory aspects also. These are very, very technical issues also. I can speak, but since time is limited, so I have to be very brief also. So you must think about that there are semantic is a problem, and there are different memory aspects, and there are certain memories, which especially we know that in case of the skill education or vocational education, the procedural or implicit memory is required. This is not explicit declarative. Semantic and episodic memories are explicit memory system or declarative memory systems. But this procedural or implicit memory, that is why I know that once you learn something to how to cook, say a very good recipe or dish, then you do it autonomously, in an almost autonomous manner. Because how to prepare it, so you know that goes to your implicit memory. And unless it goes to the implicit memory, it cannot be perfectly delivered in that manner. So the skill education programs would be mind majorly focusing on that procedural or implicit memory should also. Now, in many machines, when we design in such a manner that they are designed to adopt to certain procedures. But now, when we say an AI-enabled machine, it's not for one purpose only. The purpose specific machines are very good at implementing a procedural aspect. So whether washing machine or whether a dishwasher or any such machine which you think of, then you find that it is delivering all the time unless something gets out of order or some component of the machine becomes defective. It completes the procedure in a very systematic manner. It's human beings also function in that same manner when they have acquired the skills up to that particular level. So my suggestions to you also that the educational experts think how by using latest techniques and as well as tools, we should pay attention to how to evaluate these different kinds of expertise developed in a particular program, what we want and what has been achieved, and how to evaluate its success. So one way is by using the latest technologies like functional MRI, but it is cost effective. Maybe without using functional MRI, I can develop certain methods of evaluation and assessment based on which I can be very sure about that the procedural or implicit memory training has been completed in a particular aspect. So now just to give you the last aspect is not my contribution, but it's a neural activity. Neural activity, as I have told you, that neural activity can be measured very easily now using functional MRI and such machines. Now, when I ask you a simple question, who is Prime Minister of the India or any such question, then you can very easily respond and it takes very, very little time and so on. So that can be, has been put into a proper perspective by normal way by giving a model for depth of knowledge in 1997. And maybe you may have incorporated it in your education programs, Bachelor of Education or Master of Education, but I like it very much because it's a very modern way of looking at the depth of the knowledge, to what extent you have the knowledge. And so nowadays I advocate that whenever you deliver an education program, then you should pay attention to it. And that is why towards the end I will come to the very comment on this. So now since we understand that the brain very much, that the brain is made up of neurons and they have wire-like structures, they make connections, and based on these connections and the network, the entire network, the functioning of the brain occurs. So since it's a technical issue and to what knowledge you are already familiar with these biological terms, I don't know. So I will skip that and just will let you know that the brain has all the Benjamin Bloom's aspect. And Benjamin Bloom's educational taxonomy, the everything, right from the remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating is happening inside the brain and inside the network. And these things should now become an integral part of the education program so that we pay proper attention to it. And depth of knowledge model developed by Web is based on it. So I will give you various level of complexity. There are 4 levels on this model. One is called level 1, equal and reproduction. Level 2, skills and concept. Level 3, strategic thinking. And level 4, extended thinking. And these 4 levels have different kinds of brain activity involved. And depending upon the training, so to what level of training which you want to give in a particular education program, we have to design our emphasis on that. So when I ask you the question that who is the Prime Minister of India, than it's a simple recall and reproduction. You have already heard of long back maybe, and so you know, and the level of complexity is very simple in this question, and you very little brain activity and connection is there. So there are certain information. People who are very good and certain people have photographic memory also what we call. So you can just answer such simple questions. Unfortunately, what I have noticed that in our universities and in our higher education programs, maximum number of questions which are asked in the end of semester examination or summative evaluation or even say, continuous assessment are such they only involve level 1 activity inside the brain. So if you are teaching a course to students and only the level 1 activity is happening inside the brain of these each student, then that's a very poor level of delivery because the brain activity is less and therefore what he says something, you communicate certain information, he note down that information or maybe he has stored this information properly in his memory system and therefore next time when you ask the question he will be able to answer that questions just by recalling. So more and more people are burdening themselves with a lot of information which is they can remember and by memorizing this information. So what it is called rote learning. Rote learning is primarily focusing on this level 1 activity of the recall. The second is the skill of conceptual understanding. When we deal with such aspects where you understand these concepts, where you have a better understanding, then the more networks are involved inside the brain and more pathways are engaged. So the more brain activity is happening, more connections are being made in the brain. So that is what I have earlier given the example that when you try to understand that the energy in special theory of relativity may be different than the energy in Galilean theory of relativity. And what I have know that I can recall that energy others cannot, and whether it is true here in this particular notion or not. And when I inside my brain all these things happen, when I am worried about all those things, then this skill or conceptual understanding is there. And that is why many times, if you don't involve your student in such a manner that they get conceptual understanding or skill orientations through higher level of brain activity, then the courses delivered will not be very successful in my one understanding. And next level is much higher, requires higher activity, and that is called strategic reasoning. So in actual case of applications, as you all know, that this situation will arise when that you are in a crisis and you want to solve a problem and you have acquired. So the level 1 understanding will not help you. Level 2 understanding will be essentially required. But what is more is required is a level 3, a very high level of capacity to process the information inside the brain and come up with the solution and execute the solutions effectively so that the problem can be taken. So this all we have experience that sometimes the strategic reasoning is required in our day-to-day life. But the strategic reasoning requires a very high level of brain activity. And if you are living in stress, sometimes maybe more strategic reasoning will be required in your own profession or career, and so you are having high level of neural activity, and that high level of neural activity may be generating the stress, and that stress may be causing problems through the either like programs like hypertension or any other organs, because everything in the human system, the biosystem of human beings is very complex and involved. So I will not go into details of that, but you have realized that unless your student experience at least, so unless you give them some problems which are so demanding that the strategic reasoning is essential to come up with the solutions, and only the 1 or 2 will not help. Just by knowing and understanding the things will not be helpful. You have to apply and you have to analyze, and you have to do it in a limited period of time, and you have to do it, handle it very seriously. So my suggestion here in the newer perspective is that whatever kind of education program we deliver, we should think that we should ensure that at least every day in the classroom, the strategic reasoning is experienced by the students. And unless they experience the strategic reasoning in the day-to-day classroom, the classrooms will lose its meaning. Remember, the level 1 information can be very easily obtained by clicking it on Google. So Google is being saying Guru, but Google can only provide you the level 1 information. It cannot provide you, but it will confuse you. In fact, the level 2 information can never give you the clear-cut conceptual understanding, because the every kind of information is present there, and you have to have a theoretical framework or a lens to look at it properly and then understand it. And but Google in any case cannot train you in strategic reasoning. So now a lot of being said as Google Guru, but a Google Guru can never compete with a Guru in the classroom who is capable enough of producing strategic reasoning in the students of disciplines inside the classroom. So let's think about how to ensure that this happens. One, that's the planner or educational strategy development, and when we implement the national education policy. And the last and the foremost, the highest level of brain activity is required in what we call extended reasoning. And it is there. It's the extended reasoning that with the extended reasoning, the Albert Einstein come up with the idea like that the space and time may have some connections, and a space can be transformed into time or time into space. Or actually, in some other words, this is the way I have described. But then its own set of ideas, a special theory of relativity, which Einstein gave long back in 1905. So he was not happy with that, and he further extended the reasoning and a lot of analysis, a lot of preoccupation, a passion, a compulsion, a commitment is required for having the extended. So extended reasoning, in a sense, involves all the reasons of the brain and everything which you have throughout a particular year. So I know level 4, the student you can't guarantee. Everybody cannot be in the level 4 at most of the time. At sometimes we also live in the level 4 and use extended reasoning and find an innovative solutions. So if you want to have innovative solutions, innovative ideas, innovative approaches, or you wish to come up with a new way of dealing with a problem or tackling a problem, and definitely you need extended reasoning. This is the highest level of reasoning. So as far as the neural activity, if you consider, then we find that the neural activity is measured in the extended reasoning, it is the highest level neural activity. So definitely the education is not filling the mind with the information, but education is involving the mind of the brain and up to the level of extended neural strategic reasoning, and the strategic reasoning must be particular level. And this is what I mean the neural perspective of higher education. So if we change our higher education program, or especially the content, maybe the information remains same. It is the approach which is very, very different and it is required. And more so in light of the recent advances and knowledge in the field of artificial intelligence and understanding of our brain, we have to improve our own functioning also. So AI sometimes is called how machine behave like us, or think rationally like us, or act rationally like us, or maybe in coming years of time, the machines will outmaster us and we will have to augment our information. At the same time, the new idea has emerged, and which as a final slides I would like to add here. That the intelligence, as you know, that we all are intelligent and human beings are far more intelligent than other biological species, and that is why we are dominating on this particular planet. And whatever we are also held responsible for whatever is happening with climate change and so many things, because we have been playing and controlling many things because of our intelligence and because of our ways of functioning. And so, but nowadays it has been realized that one thing is called the intelligence of one species or one human being or one animal species or one robot or one piece of robot. Then when they work together, as this particular picture you show, see that the termites and bees can come up with the beautiful creations like this is shown here. And this is the result of what is called collective intelligence. And what collective intelligence can do wonder. And what collective intelligence means here is that the individual termite or bee or any robot may have very little intelligence and little capacity. So maybe similarly we can say that the individual human beings may have limited intelligence, now that's very large in comparison to termite or bee. But collective intelligence of a society, collective intelligence of a group of people can come up with the solutions and answers for the betterment of maybe this planet as well as for the entire universe or for the survival of this biological species or the survival of the intelligence in the universe for longer and longer duration of time. So that's very important. The collective intelligence is another very interesting area. It says that if one brain is not sufficient to solve a problem, then you can involve multiple brains and they should coordinate with each other. Here you find that these small species coordinating with each other are coming up with the very, very interesting structure. And a new branch of engineering has emerged, and which is called biosystem inspired engineering. Dr. Radhika Nagpal of Harvard University is very well known for an expert being biosystem inspired engineering and how to use biosystem inspired engineering in solving problems, not only of engineering but for our document. So you have noticed that the collective intelligence is something which will rule in coming period of time, and we will have to take part in coordination also. So I don't say that now I have often given emphasis on neural perspective, but the coordination and collective intelligence can better manifest itself only when we have a proper exposure of what is called liberal education program or liberal arts program. And when everyone is concerned and wants to get involved and is capable of doing. Thank you for your time and attention. I may have exceeded the time limit given to me, 45 minutes. Maybe it is almost an hour now. But I hope that my presentation was useful to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Really, it will be more useful as you have enlightened us for different aspects of education and how this theoretical education has connectivity with the human brain, so that in that way we have learned. And you have actually explained on three types of people: university and law of nature, so how changes occurred, and national education policy, generations, then higher education, the purpose, under that purpose multidisciplinary concept and interdisciplinary concept, then emerging disciplines, artificial intelligence, deep machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, and competency based education, technological tool, and liberal education. Under that liberal education, the essential aims and outcomes, then flexibility, then fundamental truth, looking through a new perspective. Then you have explained on Bloom's taxonomy. So under that Bloom's taxonomy, what are all those aspects also it has been explained, and human mind, and next learning, then functional magnetic, why is of MRI so exciting, then investment of behavior and a negative side of emotions, and that result also, then how oxytocin increases trust in humans, that is most exciting one. And learning has different aspects, that is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Then I have come to skill education works, how it works successfully, and communication, the role of communication, language, under that language, the syntax, semantics, then under semantic problems. So many things you have explained actually. So really it will be more useful for all, and different aspects of the like memory. So semantic problems, then declarative explicit memory, then procedural implicit memory. So then learning, then finally it has concluded with the artificial intelligence and also collective intelligence. So thanks a lot, thank you very much, sir. So you have not left anything to be queried by our students, perhaps, or staff. Uh, if anybody would like to know more, so you can take advantage in that way. So anybody interested to know more, you can ask, or else we can go for our vote of thanks. It seems that nothing is there to ask her. You have covered up so many things within the 1 hour time. So it was about 1 hour. So nicely, sir, presented. Thank you very much, sir. Now we are reaching at the end of our program. So formal vote of thanks is proposed now. So on the behalf of Regional Institute of Education and on the occasion of National Education Day 2020, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Ashok Kumar Nagawat, sir, for spending his precious time and making this day more gracious with his presence and valuable words also. And he deserves a special thanks for his inspirational speech, for motivating our students and staff also in connection with education and human brain. Sir, thank you very much for your educational bright light, which reflected upon us through valuable, meaningful, and inspiring words, thoughts, and ideas also. So thanks a lot, sir. So I'm immensely thankful to our esteemed principal, sir, Professor P.C. Agarwal, for his cordial cooperation, moral and emotional support, and giving his valuable time for making this program successful. So my sincere thanks to our Dean of Instruction and Dean of Research, Professor B.N. Panda, for his untimely support and cooperation. I am very much thankful to Head the Department of Extension Education, Professor M.K. Satpathy sir, for his cooperation, and I am immensely thankful to the coordinator of Expression Series and Extension Lecture, Professor S.K. Das, for his valuable suggestions for this program. And special thanks to our Students' Council Advisor, Professor Manasi Goswami, and Student Council Joint Advisor, Dr. Kumar Parag, for conducting a debate competition on 10th November 2020. So I am very much thankful to Head of Department of Education, Professor I.P. Garama, Head DESM, Professor Animesh Mahapatra, Head DESSH, Professor Itanjali Das, for their constant encouragement for conducting the program smoothly. So I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks to all my colleagues, those who are being connected here and presently they're listening with the patients. And I thanks to my colleagues once again, and headmaster Mr. Akhilesh Mishra and teachers of DM school. And I like to thank to the in charge of academic section, Professor Lakshmidhar Behera, and his team to circulate information among all the students within a short notice. And I am also thankful to the team of Computer Lab and ET Cell for publicizing the event in the institute website. Thanks a lot to the student presenters, namely Rusha, Nilanjana, Sudesna, Kabir, Susri, and Manisha, who have volunteered to deliver their speech on National Education Day. So thanks to all the students, those are present in this virtual mode, for their patient listening. So AO, SEO, SOs, APCs deserve special mention on this occasion for their administrative support at each and every step of organizing this program. Last but not the least, I am very much thankful to ICT Studio in charge, Professor S.P. Mishra, and all the members of ICT Studio for connecting us in this virtual mode and making the program successful one. Thanks a lot once again to all who directly and indirectly involved in this program. So with this, I end up my vote of thanks here. Thanks to all. Namaskar to all.